Hey everyone, Come Follow Me this week is coming to you from my new lounge because the weather outside is terrible. So, welcome. Where this week we're covering 2 Kings, chapters 17 through 25, but our Come Follow Me manual this year doesn't get into Chronicles. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at some of these scriptures, but we're going to look at their counterparts in 2 Chronicles. Because Kings is mostly like the history of what happened in this time period, whereas 1st and 2nd Chronicles is like 1st and 2nd Kings. They're both there in the same timeline, more like the spiritual experiences and the prophet's teachings and that kind of thing. So while both are really good, and our church has chosen to focus for Come Follow Me in 2nd Kings, some of the insights I'm doing, I'm actually taking from 2nd Chronicles. So, if you're getting a little confused, don't worry too much. This is mostly at this point the southern kingdom. There's a little bit of mix in there with Ahab, where both kings go to war to save that area as a whole, and he's northern kingdom. He gets killed, so that's at the beginning. But most of this week is southern kingdom. And if that's confusing, you don't even worry about it. Just leave that for another year. But we're going to start off in 2 Chronicles chapter 18 verses 6 to 7 and then verse 13. So this is a point and like a really going over. This is Ahab joining with Jehoshaphat to fight off all the armies that are coming at them. First of all, should have made that. We'll get to that. But let's just read the verses and then we'll discuss. Okay, so let's see. So 6 to 7. So this is Ahab going, okay, well, we don't know what to do in battle. We don't know how to go about it. And Jehoshaphat, being from Judah, knowing that believing in prophets, says, is there not a prophet of the Lord that you have in your kingdom that we can ask? Because he's made this arrangement with Ahab to go fight together without really knowing who Ahab is. Because if he knew who Ahab was, remember we talked about him last week, he's evil piece of knitting. He's nasty. You don't want to go there. His wife, Jezebel, terrible woman. So, not really a partnership you want to sign up with. It's one of the worst contracts you could have ever gotten into. And he gets called on that a bit later on. But at this point, he's finding this out when he says to Ahab, is there not a prophet of the Lord? So, in verses 6 and 7, it says, but Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides that we might inquire of him? So is there not a prophet that we can ask about this? And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, this is Ahab speaking, there is yet one man by whom we may inquire of the Lord, but I hate him. For he never prophesied good unto me, but always evil. His name is Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so, as in, I'm not going to listen to you, the king. I'm going to go listen to the prophet. So that's interesting. So they sit there in their thrones and they call this Micaiah in. And Micaiah says, as the Lord, in verse 13, and Micaiah said, as the Lord liveth, even what my God saith, that will I speak. As in, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm only going to tell you what the Lord's telling me. So then in verses 14 to 16, he says, don't go into battle, Ahab, you're going to die. It's not going to go well. You're going to see Israel scattered. And 17, the king of Israel, says, Ahab said to Jehoshaphat, didn't I tell you that he would not prophesy any good, but just evil stuff? And it's like, well, no, he's actually trying to save you. But it's not what you want to hear, so you're calling it evil. So they put him in prison, and he's like, well, I'll return in peace. So he just leaves. He's just like, I don't mind. I'm just going to go because you're not listening anyway. And yeah, if you want to hear more, I'll return in peace. But until then, no, bye. So then they actually go to war, and Ahab gets a little worried about this and thinks maybe that guy was right. Even if I don't like what he's saying, maybe he was right. So he dresses up Jehoshaphat in all the royal garb and disguises himself. Now they go after Jehoshaphat thinking, because they don't really care. This is the Syrian armies, I think. Syria was always going against them. Yeah, the Syrian army. I was correct there. Oh, thank goodness. So the Syrians basically had said, like, we just want Ahab dead. We don't really care about anyone else. We just want Ahab gone because he is just causing us grief. We want him gone. So they're looking for Ahab. Now, because there's no Facebook and pictures of this guy out there at this time, back in Old Testament-y times. So they're just looking for someone dressed up as a royal. So they see Jehoshaphat, go after him, but actually he gets saved because he is actually a good guy. The Lord does protect him. And then it just says at the end here in 33, and a certain man drew a bow as a venture and smote the king of Israel between the joints of his harness. So just a random guy in battle went, don't like the look of it, I'm just going to fire a bow, and it hit Ahab. Ahab goes on for the rest of the day, but he was so wounded that at the going down of the sun he died. So he died painfully in battle, as was prophesied. Interesting point. So, prophets of God will only speak the words of God and Jesus Christ, not what people want to hear. So Ahab rejects the words, calling them evil. Jehoshaphat trusts the words of the prophet, even if it's not good news. And Micaiah the prophet states he will only speak the words that the Lord gives him. So, and look at in chapter 19, verse 3, when Jehoshaphat goes home, he gets called out by his own prophet in his own kingdom, saying, what were you thinking working with that guy? He's no good. So, pick your friends carefully, know who you're associating with, because Ahab threw him under the bus quite happily and got killed anyway, and it's just not a thing that you should have got into. So, if you've got covenant keeping, following, trusting the prophet people around you, you're going to be fine. So, know who your friends are, know who you can listen to, know who you can trust, because Ahab, not one of them. Micaiah the prophet, one of them. See what I'm getting that there? Okay, so Elder Stevenson, he said, we listen to the Lord's prophet with a faith that his words are from the Lord's own mouth. And that's really important, because when we go in there and we're like, actually, we don't like what the prophet's saying, you're not liking what the Lord's saying. And that can seem really harsh, and it's not like you have to immediately accept everything. There's, room in there to say, like, okay, I don't really understand that right now. I'm not getting that right now. I need to work on that and pray on that. Absolutely. But for the most part, most people are like, oh, yeah, okay. But it's not an instant thing for everyone. So don't be too harsh on yourself if you're feeling like, oh, there's some things that the prophets have said that I don't particularly like. That's all right. Remember, Elder Holland counseled us, stay for the buffet even if you don't like the broccoli. If you're not all right with the broccoli, or something's dodgy in there that you're just not quite, it's okay. You can keep learning about that. You don't have to accept everything right away perfectly, completely. It's a process. It is a learning thing, and we're getting there. But trusting the words of the prophets because they come from the Lord. And here's one good example of it. So there you go. All right, hang around. We're going to go to 2 Chronicles chapter 20. See you there.